Welcome back to Game Changers Silicon Valley, a show about today's emerging innovations that may be the game changers of tomorrow. My name is Jim Connor. I will be your host. This is the second segment of tonight's show, addressing a new frontier in Silicon Valley, applying computer technology to agriculture. This emerging sector is referred to as AgTech, and it addresses a broad range of opportunities in food production, resource management, sustainability, and big data. My guests are Roger Royce, founder of Royce Law Firm and the Silicon Valley AgTech Conference, and John Erickson, founder of and CEO of RapidBio Systems, an AgTech company. Welcome back to this segment, Roger and John. We had quite a good discussion in that first part. I'd like to continue on with a little more about your experience in the accelerator that Roger has built and is providing as a growth mechanism.
Great. It's been a wonderful experience. Let me just start with that. Roger and I met last year at the AgTech event and then built our relationship. And actually, it started, we contracted with Roger's law firm to do our Delaware incorporation. And so that was a wonderful experience and worked out very well. They've given us very sage legal advice as well. And then when the incubator came up, we signed up. We proposed put our application in, and it was accepted. And we've been working very closely with Roger and his incubator firm since then. Mm-hmm.
Tell us about it then. You have 15, 16 companies in there?
We've got about 15 companies in the program. Several of them are on site. We offer facilities to some of them. Others are out in the field, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's about 15 now.
Okay. And what stage are they? Are they pure intellectual property plays, or are they actual products and services?
We want them a little further along than that. What we were looking for is a company that's in the market or pretty close to going to market, that we can actually see the path. Because what we offer these companies is really that go-to-market. You know, we offer them that opportunity. So some companies are a little too early. We've seen some incredible technologies, just some space-age stuff. You know, you can't believe it until you see it, but they're just not a product yet. So those are a little too early. Similarly, you know, there are companies that are already out there selling products and not doing anything particularly new or innovative. They're a little, you know, beyond where we are. We're really looking for startups that are ready to go out, get into the market, and basically disrupt their space.
Mm-hmm. This is the second segment. I'm going to let you repeat kind of what your company does for those in the audience who haven't seen the first segment, just briefly.
Sure. I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
So what we're developing at RapidBio Systems is a portable, handheld pathogen detection system that's very fast. By fast, I mean we give results on bacteria pathogens in about 10 or 15 minutes once a sample is put into the device. Mm-hmm. And so our system is made of two components. One, we have a microfluidic sample slide. A sample is inserted into it, and about a 1 ml sample, and goes through the channels. And on one side, it reacts with antibodies and other chemistries. And then the other side, there is no antibodies, but there's the same other chemistries. And so we illuminate one side first, the antibody side, with a very specific frequency laser, red laser. And then what we do is we capture the light that gets scattered in a forward direction at a very specific angle. Sounds a little complicated, and it is. So we use antibodies, we use highly sensitive electronics sourced from here in this area. There's a data management component to it, there's a laser component to it, and there's antibodies. So we have 6 different technologies that we deploy. That's why we're able to get a fast, accurate results versus what antibody tests in the past have been.
And you pulverize in the case of vegetables, you pulverize it and put it in a little bit of the material.
Yeah, so what we do is, if we're down in Salinas, for instance, right, in the miles and miles of fresh green leafy vegetables, you'll take a spinach sample or a lettuce sample, you put it in a small portable blender, almost like a coffee blender, and we'll break it up really fast. And then what we do is we extract a liquid sample, a 1 ml, with a syringe or a pipette, and then we insert that into the sample. So all of our testing that we're doing is based on a water or aqueous sample.
In our first segment, we talked about this being mainly at the distribution level, so it doesn't get into the supermarket or to the consumer, but it sounds like the farmer could actually use this also.
Well, absolutely. So there's a term within AgTech, it's called farm to fork. So all the way from growing to consuming. And there's a whole distribution network and channel within that. In that distribution channel, there's multiple opportunities to do pathogen testing. And some of it is required by the FDA with these relationships they have with food companies. So farmers, absolutely. Large multinational companies like Dole and Chiquita and others are a really important target for us because the need is so great. I'll give you, for instance, one of those large companies I just mentioned down in Salinas. They sit on over $1 million worth of inventory every single day, just waiting for pathogen test results. Can you imagine the waste of time and capital?
How long does it take today?
Right now, the current gold standard is this DNA testing I talked about, PCR, and that takes a matter of hours today to a day, so it could be from 5 hours to 30 hours to get a result. Are they getting faster? Absolutely they are. Are they portable, handheld, accurate, deployable into a field? No, they're not. That's why we're trying to answer that very specific, wide, global need for a testing platform.
Great. John, in your experience, what is in general, when you hear about these big recalls, you know, whether it's hamburger, distributor, hamburger, where do they typically happen? Is it in storage that food goes bad, or some truck didn't have the air conditioning or the freezer working? What have you seen in your experience?
So in a lot of different places, to give you an answer. It can happen in the field. There can be a bacterial contamination that's environmental. A lot of bacteria grows in soils or is left by animals that come into the field or fly over the field. And so there can be contamination there. There can be contamination every step in the distribution channel where it's post-harvest and it's being green leafy vegetables. It's being processed and bagged, or whether it's out further and there had been some contamination that wasn't caught, and it's in an environment over time that allows it to grow, all the way to product that's expired.
Well, this whole thing is a big evolution coming down. It's probably one of the biggest things we've seen in years coming out of Silicon Valley. You, in a prior meeting with me, said essentially Silicon Valley is the place where we have the resources and the intelligence and the drive to make this happen. Maybe I'll let you comment about that.
It's really a perfect storm if you think about it, and that's what occurred to me one day 3 years ago when I started the group. We're here in California, which has a $46 billion a year agriculture industry. It's by far the biggest industry in the state. We're here in Silicon Valley, which is the center of the technology universe. Right? This is where people come from all over the world to find that technical know-how in those people. And we're also sitting right next to 1/3 of all the venture capital that gets invested in this country. So it's a perfect storm of conditions to create the center of what I think is the next big thing, AgTech.
There's a lot of issues we haven't touched on. One is this issue of sustainability, and maybe we can get a little bit about that, because that's a very broad range.
It is, and there's something in this for everybody. Okay.
Good.
And that's the other good thing about this. I mean, because the people that are attracted to this quickly growing area, there are of course businessmen. There are people who are interested in technology. There are people who are interested in finance, but there are also people who are interested in saving the world. And there are a lot of places where there's room for improvement when we talk about sustainability. Number one, as is commonly said, we're going to have 10 billion people on this planet by 2050. Okay, that's within the lifetimes of some of your viewers. Okay, so think about that. There's just not enough land to support that many people. And it's not getting any better. In fact, China is a good example of where a lot of the land has just been destroyed. So we have to get more resources out of less land. That's a big opportunity, and it's a very important thing. A second area is, I grew up in the Midwest alongside a river that was in farming country that you couldn't eat the fish out of the river because of the chemicals that were in the river. That's the old way of farming. We're moving away from that. We're going to have to move away from that because current agriculture has a very large footprint on the environment. And there are credible studies that can show that it's creating environmental issues that are just going to have to be dealt with. That's a problem, but it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for technology to solve.
Great. So John, what's next? What's coming down the road for you? First of all, I want to give a moment ahead of time and let you talk about how a company or individuals would contact you. Your company and the website, and then what's coming down the road for the company in the next year or two.
Great. So the easiest way to contact us is through our website, www.rapidbiosystems.com, or my email, which is Erickson, Erickson, at rapidbiosystems.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Okay, great. I'll let you also give your information for contact. Google Roger Royce.
RoyceLaw.com, Royce with an S, not a C, RoyceLaw.com, Royce Law Incubator, Royce Law AgTech, and you'll find us. Silicon Valley AgTech is
good. So there's another last issue I just want to touch on, and that is the world's changing dramatically. There are a number of parts of the world that have a lot of violence and unfortunate things taking place. Food security, the security to produce a reliable food supply, seems to be emerging as a concern in those countries, and frankly, probably be a concern in our country too. We've been blessed to have a wealth of fertile land, great production methods, we've increased yield, but are there any thoughts or concerns that that this will become a strategic food production, food security will become a future issue in the world?
Oh, I think it already is. The issue of food security, absolutely, and that is there are technologies out there addressing that very issue right now. That's an important one. And you touch on another one, is food as a national security issue, and that's always been true. It can be a very politicized issue.
Does water fall into AgTech, water management?
Absolutely. We have several technologies. We call it precision, a subset of precision farming. That drip irrigation is a good example, but there are much more advanced irrigation that save water, which is really important these days, as you know, especially here in California.
Very important. Great, great. And John, I did want to ask you, is there any upcoming information or announcements you're going to do? You're going to be at the conference, the AgTech conference, May
11th, Computer History Museum in Mountain View.
And you're going to be on stage?
Well, we hope so. I certainly will be
you haven't announced that yet.
I'll be attending that conference, and it really, for us in the company, this was a critical moment in our development. By getting associated with Roger and then the incubator, it allowed us to have access for a small startup like we are. To have the type of access that Roger's incubator has offered us has just been tremendous. And from a startup perspective, that's critical. Critical to capital, critical to technology, et cetera. And we've had an opportunity to meet dozens of folks in this space.
It's a big country, big world. Are there other organizations doing anything like this that you're aware of? I'm not asking you to name your competition. I'm just saying if I'm in Kentucky or I'm in Michigan or I'm in Ohio and I want to do something, do I just come out here and see you?
Well, first of all, I have no competition because I'm interested in expanding the space generally. Okay. So the more the merrier. There are other accelerators around agriculture and around food. They don't quite have the same focus as us. I'm not aware of another one that's exactly like us, where we're just applying that Silicon Valley rainforest network to the ag tech industry. A lot of them are focused on sustainability, some on food, some on food tech, but we're somewhat unique in what we're doing. That's
great. Great. I want to thank both of you for coming on tonight. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've received an education to some extent. I really knew nothing about ag tech at all, but it's a very deep and very broad market. So I want to thank you both, and I want to keep in touch because I think this is going to be a remarkable evolution, and we should be seeing some announcements in the next 12 to 18 months.
Thanks, sir.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for joining us on this segment of Game Changer Silicon Valley. Each week we'll feature a new company and a new technology that may be the game changer of tomorrow. Thank you and good night now.